Good morning. My name is Mark Patterson, and I'm General Counsel and Corporate Secretary for PyroGenesis. The annual shareholders meeting is about to begin. Instructions on a voting procedure will appear on your screens. As with any relatively new technology, unexpected glitches may occur, but our service providers with this platform at Lumi are very experienced at running this type of meeting and will help us out as needed. We'll conduct the votes on each of the matters before us by a poll. On each poll, every shareholder who is entitled to vote on a matter has one vote with respect to of each share entitled to be voted on for that matter and held by that shareholder. The poll will be opened for all resolutions at the same time. This will allow you to choose to vote on each resolution immediately or wait until the end of the discussion on each resolution before casting your vote.
Well, thank you, Mark. Thank you very much. This meeting will now come to order. Good morning, everyone. Bonjour à tous. This is the 14th annual meeting of the shareholders of PyroGenesis Canada, Inc. My name is Alan Curley. I am the chair of the board of directors, and I will act as the chair of this meeting. I would like to introduce the other current members of the board who are present. We have Andrew Abdallah, Dr. Virendra Jha, Paul Rachikod, Ben Nacaro, Major General Retired Robert Radden. We have Nanette Ramsey and Peter Pasquale. We also have present today members of management, Mark Patterson, General Counsel and Corporate Secretary of PyroGenesis, Andrew Menella, Chief Financial Officer of PyroGenesis, Steve McCormick, a Vice President of Corporate Affairs, and Isabelle Vachon and Bertrand of TSX Trust Company, the Register and Transfer Agent of PyroGenesis, who will act as scrutineers of this meeting. Now, in accordance with the notice and access procedures, PyroGenesis has sent all the shareholders through its transfer agent or other intermediaries a notice of availability of the proxy materials for the meeting, and as applicable, a form of proxy or a voting instruction form informing of the websites where the meeting material can be found, access the meeting materials online, and how the shareholders can access a paper copy of the meeting materials. Notice sent to the shareholders also contains basic information about the meeting, such as the matters for which a vote will be held. We will forego the reading of the notice as it has been made available to all shareholders of PyroGenesis entitled to receive such a notice, together with the other meeting materials, including the Management Information Circular, the form of proxy, PyroGenesis financial statements, and the auditor's report thereon. Madame Vachon and Monsieur Jallet have filed with PyroGenesis proof of mailing of all these meeting materials. The declaration as to this mailing is available for inspection by the shareholder, by any shareholder. The secretary will append proof of this mailing to the minutes of this meeting. The corporation's bylaws provide that a person present at the opening of a meeting of shareholders and representing personally or by proxy one or more shareholders holding 5% of the issued and outstanding voting shares of the corporation shall constitute a quorum for the transaction of business. I will now ask Mark to explain how the participants may vote and how questions will be addressed. Mark?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Today, registered shareholders and duly appointed proxy holders who are attending the meeting have the ability to vote online through the Lumi platform. For those of you who have already voted in advance of the meeting, you don't need to do anything today. The poll will stay open throughout the meeting until the last business item has been put to a vote and the chair declares voting to be closed. Preliminary results will be provided at the end of the meeting, and final results will be posted on SEDAR+. We've solicited questions from shareholders in advance of this meeting and will answer certain questions during the meeting. Participants will therefore not be able to ask questions live during the meeting. Questions related to items of business will be addressed immediately before each item is put to a vote. And questions of a general nature will be addressed during the question period after the chair's remarks.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mark. A notice having been served in accordance with the Canada Business Corporations Act and PyroGenesis bylaws and quorum being present, I declare that this meeting is duly constituted for the transaction of business. The Secretary will annex the scrutineer's report to the minutes of this meeting. The polls will now be open. The first item of business is the presentation of the annual audited consolidated financial statements of PyroGenesis for the year ended December 31st, 2023, and the auditor's report thereon. These financial statements, as well as a related management discussion and analysis, are available under PyroGenesis' profile on SEDAR. I now present to the meeting the financial statements together with the auditor's report thereon. I ask the Secretary to keep a copy of these financial statements with the minutes of this meeting. Mark, are there any questions in respect to the presentation of the financial statements?
No, we have not received any questions on this topic.
Thank you. The next item of business is the election of the corporation's directors. The articles of the corporation provide that it shall have not less than 3 and not more than 15 directors. It is proposed by both management and the directors that 8 directors be elected to the board of directors for the upcoming year. The following 8 nominees are put forward as candidates to serve as directors for the following year: Andrew Abdallah, Alan Curley, Dr. Veranda Jha, Ben Nacarado, Fotis Peter Pascali, Robert Radden, Paul Rashkod, Nanette Ramsey. Mark, have you received any questions from participants on these nominations?
No, Mr. Chair, we have not received any questions on this topic.
Thank you. As there is no further discussion, I declare the nominations closed. May I please have a motion to elect the nominated candidates as directors of the corporation?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the 8 candidates nominated be elected as directors of the corporation for the ensuing year.
Thank you, Robert.
I second that motion.
Thank you, Nanette. You've heard the motions made by Robert Radden and seconded by Nanette Ramsey. I will now proceed with the vote. I will pause to allow participants to register their votes. Thank you. I will now move on to the matter of the appointment of the auditors of the corporation. Mark, have you received any questions on the appointment of the auditors?
No, Mr. Chair, we have not received any questions on this topic.
Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the reappointment of Raymond Chabot, Grant Thompson as the auditors for the corporation?
I move that Raymond Chabot, Grant Thornton LLP, certified public accountants, be reappointed as the independent auditors of the corporation and that the board of directors be authorized to fix the auditor's remuneration.
Mr. Chairman, I second that motion.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Nanette. You've heard the motion made by Nanette Ramsey and seconded by Robert Radden. I will now proceed with the vote. I will pause to allow participants to register their votes. Thank you. That brings us to the end of the formal business of this meeting. In a moment, Mr. Steve McCormick, Corporate Vice President of the corporation, will provide an update and overview of PyroGenesis business affairs. The corporation will also have a question period during which moderated questions that were submitted prior to this meeting will be answered. Following that, our scrutineers will announce the results of the voting. I will give you one last minute to cast your votes before we conclude the formal part of this meeting. Thank you. The formal part of this meeting has now ended and the voting polls are closed. Thank you all for your participation. I will now hand things over to Steve. Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hello to everyone listening today. My name is Steve McCormick. I'm Vice President of Corporate Affairs for PyroGenesis. And in a moment, I will be presenting a summary of 2023, plus a brief look at our progress so far in 2024. But first, I'd like to present a video message featuring Mr. Peter Pascali, President and CEO of PyroGenesis. Please roll the video.
Hi, I'm Peter Pascali, President and CEO of PyroGenesis. I'm also its single largest shareholder. I'd like to take this opportunity to review some of what's going on with the company and what excites me about its future. 2023 was a challenging year for everyone. We had just come out of a post-COVID era where we were all challenged by labor shortages, supply chain issues, and never seen before demands such as work from home, which on the surface may not seem like a big deal, but for an innovative company, let's just say innovation is challenging when you're working via Zoom. So we just come out of COVID with its inherent challenges. And just as we're almost back on our feet, the economy was hit with interest rate hikes increasing at a rate we have never seen before. This affected everyone, clients, suppliers, and the stock market. As interest rates remained high and a slow rolling recession impacted various industries at different times, we saw shifting demand dynamics and tighter financial conditions weigh heavily on spending decisions and new project development for many of our potential clients. This was especially true for startup and smaller tech sector clients seeking early stage funding that would have allowed them to place initial orders with us sooner than they have. Now, they haven't gone away, it's just taking a bit longer. We were fortunate that we do not have that much debt, and most of what we have is in friendly hands. In retrospect, I think we managed one of the most challenging years facing microcap companies in recent memory quite well. During this time, we have been reviewing our expenses with a view to rationalizing them post-COVID. I say post-COVID since we more than doubled our workforce during that period. People were hired over Zoom, and many worked 100% of the time over Zoom. Were they working and integrating in an optimum fashion? Did they comply with the high standards PyroGenesis demanded? Were they efficient? Were they happy? Labor was not the only expense item that was put under the microscope in 2023. As an example, we challenged our procurement group to source items with a goal to achieve an overall 10% reduction while maintaining or improving quality. And all this within an inflationary environment that saw global prices increase by over 5% per year. Although the final results are not yet in, I can safely say our group has more than achieved their goal. This overall rationalization is a big part of what led to us to decide to leave the NASDAQ until it made more sense, thereby saving us, by the way, close to $2 million annually. But 2023 was not all about rationalization of expenses. During this time, our clients and potential clients were also dealing with the same global challenges facing us all. From an investor's perspective, PyroGenesis' achievements in attracting large billion-dollar companies is a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it, to some degree, gives investors added confidence that large entities with the money and expertise have done some due diligence before moving forward. However, on the other hand, these same entities do not move fast when it comes to making decisions in a changing environment. What may seem slow to someone used to dealing with small caps is lightning speed in the larger cap arena. The combined impact of these issues not only resulted in our lower revenue, but also in our share price, which was typical for small cap and growth tech stocks across the board as investors moved into defensive investing that focused on the mega caps and on the emergence of computer technology stocks such as artificial intelligence, which received massive media publicity. I consider this turbulence to be temporary, and it will help focus investors on the real companies with real solutions like PyroGenesis. I remain exceedingly optimistic about the role PyroGenesis is and can play within this changing environment. Notwithstanding this difficult environment, we managed to lay down some cornerstones upon which we will most certainly build. We strengthened existing partnerships, and we expanded business development to increase awareness of PyroGenesis offerings in several new industries. And of course, we built on past successes by continuing to grow our client base, specifically targeting key industries like aluminum. We moved closer to both the commercial validation of the numerous industrial trials we are engaged in and the widely anticipated certification of our products, particularly in metal powder for 3D printing. On that note, we have finally reached the start line for commercialization of important business units like our next-gen titanium metal powder production system. And last but not least, we saw a strong resurgence of some older business lines such as waste remediation. While our 2023 yearly revenue is down, we still see the revenue trend is moving up, with this year being the potential bottom of the recent downturn. As we've all witnessed, the last 10 years has brought considerable evolution to heavy industry and to PyroGenesis. The traditional industrial focus of avoiding obsolescence has been fueled, and in some cases eclipsed, by corporate mandates to optimize raw material input and output, secure logistical networks, diversify production, and reduce and eliminate corporate environmental footprints. And with the increased demand for lighter metals, the maturing of battery-operated transportation, and the ever-tightening restrictions on industrial emissions and waste, the previous predictions that heavy industries with their billions invested in legacy equipment and processes will increasingly need to turn to high-tech solutions has started to become a reality. Almost 30 years ago, PyroGenesis was born out of an idea to harness the unique potential behind plasma, an ultra-high temperature, electricity-based application that was often considered a process looking for an application, or more appropriately, a solution in search of a problem. When I left Wall Street to pursue this dream, which arguably was ahead of its time, I did so with the full knowledge that the road to widespread customer acceptance would be challenging. But the journey, if successful, will be rewarding and game-changing. It is essentially what has motivated me to get out of bed for the past 30 years. And as I stand here today, I can tell you that it is still rewarding, and I'm more certain than ever that the vision I had for plasma 30 years ago is taking hold as we speak. It has already become a game-changing process. As the industrial decarbonization trend grows, we are very well positioned to capitalize as industries are forced to innovate and adopt the carbon-reducing technologies that are required for their energy transition evolution. I cannot overstate how much the fact that we have stood the test of time and built a stable of billion-dollar clients has given PyroGenesis a level of credibility in these emerging markets that is hard to find, and which has provided PyroGenesis competitors with a serious barrier to entry. And now let me mention a few events that have occurred in this most recent quarter that provide even more reasons for my optimism in the future. First, we signed and announced an agreement with Constellium, a world-leading manufacturer of aluminum products, that expands upon the results of a recently conducted test campaign for replacing fossil fuel burners with our all-electric plasma torches. This agreement signifies a next step for Constellium, who will now move to testing our plasma torches in a large aluminum melting furnace at an active aluminum facility with a potential for widespread adoption of our plasma torches. Second, our often criticized strategy to extend the receivables timeline for a certain key client has proven to be successful, as we recently received notice of payment for the outstanding balance in 2 parts. This level of trust that has been established between Radian, their new partner, and ourselves speaks volumes as we expand our offerings in the region. A region that is well-funded and has an eye to the future, while much of the rest of the world is in hibernation mode. Third, we have seen a rapid increase in interest in our solutions across several different industrial sectors, of course spurred on by a determined business development effort, but also by the leadership of influential companies like Constellium and Norsk Hydro, both of whom publicly announced their intent to investigate plasma as a replacement heat source in various process steps. This type of change, together with these late quarter developments, gives substance and credibility to our long-term strategy and allows us to continue delivering on our mission with increased motivation. In closing, I would be remiss if I did not thank our investors for their patience over the years. It has, without a doubt, been a difficult time in the capital markets for small cap companies like ourselves. As the biggest shareholder of the company, I'm well aware of both the financial and psychological impact that a declining share price can have. And while I can't guarantee how the capital markets will react to our successes, what I can do is assure you that no one will work harder to take this company to new heights and to ensure that every company in heavy industry has been made aware of PyroGenesis and its solutions. We are committed to winning, and with that comes a commitment to help produce major change. The type of change that can alter industries for the better, forever, while hopefully also making you proud of where you have made your investment. As I mentioned earlier, plasma technology was once a solution looking for a problem. It, along with other electric technologies, was often ignored as unremarkable, unharnessable, and even unnecessary due to the wide availability of gas and oil. Its full potential was underestimated by all but those working diligently at PyroGenesis and those that shared our vision. As governments, clients, potential clients, and investors keep moving towards a greener industrial future, PyroGenesis remains a partner of choice with a proven history of innovation and with an ecosystem of factory-ready technology solutions. As we stated in a recent promotional series, with the decarbonization potential of plasma, the future is electric. I believe this is true for heavy industry, for our company, and most importantly, for our investors.
Thank you to Mr. Pascali for his video message. As mentioned, I'm going to start with revisiting some of the company's accomplishments of 2023 and then discuss some of the progress that's already been made in 2024. But first, our forward-looking statement. Top-lining the numbers as of today, June 27th, 2024. 33 years in business, more than 170 patents, and a lot of things that have happened over the past 5 years in particular. As many investors know, during this period, the company uplisted to the TSX from the Venture Exchange, opened a second production plant for a total manufacturing footprint now of more than 70,000 square feet. And by adding to perhaps the largest collection of experts in our field under one roof, the company doubled its staff count, which as of today currently sits at 119 full-time employees. Now looking back on 2023, during the year, PyroGenesis continued to innovate, commercialize, and expand our offering and service to heavy industry, government, and entrepreneurial customers. We harnessed our expertise in ultra-high temperature processes to conceive, develop, and deliver solutions across a diverse range of business lines. During the year, the company significantly increased the power levels of its plasma torches after signing a contract for a 4.5 megawatt torch with a U.S. Defense and Aeronautics organization. This was complemented by a surge of new interest and requests for feasibility studies to study first-time uses of plasma within a variety of different process steps in heavy industry. 2023 also saw fast acceleration of the fumed silica reactor project, leading to the construction of the pilot plant, which, when complete, will convert quartz into fumed silica in a single step without the use of harmful chemicals. Fumed silica is a particle-sized, food-safe additive with a large surface area used worldwide as a thickening agent in thousands of products, everything from milkshakes to adhesives, powdered foods, paints, inks, cosmetics, and beverages. And it's used to increase strength, viscosity, and flow control. 2023 saw important milestones being met toward commercialization of new business lines, such as for our next-gen plasma atomization system that produces titanium metal powder for use in additive manufacturing or industrial 3D printing. The company was granted a U.S. patent for the technology while also signing a first commercial by-the-ton order for its titanium powder. Also notable was that the successful conversion of quartz to silicon in a single step was achieved in 2023 using the quartz reduction reactor, leading to a successful pour of the silicon that validated the previous project milestones. And the company expanded into several new industries, including with initial projects for the cement and chemical industries. 2023 saw a rebirth of the waste remediation business line, with contracts for 6 different projects, including a chemical warfare waste destruction system and a system to safely destroy hazardous refrigerants such as CFCs. And with existing customers, we continued to earn their trust with new sales to the US Navy, Illuminary Alouette, and others, along with a variety of research and development initiatives with long-term government and corporate clients. And now a few quick thoughts on the progress the company has made so far in 2024. We've started off the year strong with a variety of achievements and new project sales. With our recent Q1 results announced May 14th, which was the 3rd best first quarter in the company's history, the earnings have moved up 4 straight quarters above the low point that was seen in Q1 of 2023. In fact, 2023 revenues for the first quarter represent what management believes to have been the bottom of the recent down cycle. The company may have the odd revenue pullback on any given quarter, given the nature of GAAP revenue reporting, which is based on the percentage complete of projects and not on new sales. But the trend line is solid, and management believes the worst is behind us. For context, for much of the history of the company was a $5 million a year revenue company. All that changed in 2020 when revenues tripled, and then almost doubled again in 2021, subsequently receding the last 2 years due to the lingering effects of supply chain disruption, customer project bottlenecks, and high interest rates affecting CapEx spending for smaller and startup customers. On a quarterly basis, in the pre-2020 era, the company would average about $1.5 million in revenue per quarter. Since achieving an all-time high of more than $9 million in the 3rd quarter of 2021, there's been a lot of investor concern about the drop-off since then, and rightly so. But management believes the last 4 quarters of growth provide confidence of a reversal off that first quarter 2023 low point, and of the likely continued forward progression. Another strong indicator is backlog. Backlog is future revenue associated to projects signed and awarded but not yet completed. This is different from pipeline, which is potential sales and is very speculative. For many years, the company's backlog averaged approximately $7 million. Then in the 3rd quarter of 2019, backlog shot up past $25 million, and it's never dipped below that level since, now hovering around the $30 million mark, with the last quarter reporting at just over $28 million in backlog. With a strong backlog assuring a flow of projects and revenue for many quarters to come, the announced new project sales and corporate activities for the first 2 quarters of 2024 provide more emphasis underlining management's confidence. Where 2023 saw a renewal of the waste remediation business line, 2024 has validated the potential of PyroGenesis, the company's wholly owned gas purification and valorization solution provider subsidiary that was acquired in 2021. Over the last month alone, PyroGenesis has signed close to $4 million in new projects, with others still in negotiation. In other areas, as alluded to earlier, so far in 2024, the company has seen an influx of study and testing requests by a number of very large players across heavy industry, each looking to potentially utilize plasma in their heating and process steps. The most prominent client that the company has publicly announced in this regard is Constellium, one of the world's largest manufacturers of aluminum products, who, after conducting successful furnace tests on-site at PyroGenesis, has now announced they will conduct live furnace tests using plasma at their own facilities. And finally, as stated in the company's outlook from the first quarter financials, potentially large-scale opportunities are presenting themselves. These include continued plasma torch advancements, the fumed silica reactor technology that the company now owns 50% of after exercising an option to purchase, new projects within the Middle East region, and for the next-gen titanium metal powders, which, as was announced in June, has passed the final requirements to become an official supplier to a global aerospace OEM and is now awaiting addition to that supplier list. For more information, please refer to the Outlook section of the first quarter financial report, where numerous other projects and potential projects were referenced. In summary, if 2023 started to climb out from the revenue lows, 2024 is shaping up to continue that momentum through the remainder of the year and well into 2025. As Peter Pascali, the company's president and CEO, said in ending his video message, thanks to the decarbonization potential of plasma, the future is electric. This will conclude the 2023 and 2024 synopsis portion of the meeting. Thank you for your time and for listening today. I will now pass it back to the chair. Mr. Chairperson, over to you.
Thank you, Steve. Peter, for the video. It was very good. So that was a very insightful presentation. We are now going to address questions that were raised prior to this meeting. Mark, have we received any questions?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have. And to address these questions, I will turn the floor over to Peter Pascali, President and CEO of PyroGenesis. Peter?
Thank you very much, Mark. And thank you very much, Mr. Chair. It's great to be here. Thank you all for attending this AGM, and thank you for everybody who put such a good presentation together. It's good to be here. First of all, I'd like to speak to the questions and how we can answer them. As many people may think that this AGM is actually a public platform. It's not considered to be a public platform. In other words, anything we answer has to be in the context of previously published public information. We cannot disclose anything new here. So that's a limitation I hope you can understand and respect. I hope you like the video. My job was to do the video and answer these questions. And if you think that that might have been a way of keeping me on script, maybe, but I just got a late question that nobody's aware of. And the question is, so Peter, how do you feel about things? No, actually, I didn't get a question like that. But had I got a question like that, I probably would have answered something like, I'm over the moon. I mean, things are shaping up in PyroGenesis. Now, I'm not talking about the stock. We're not talking about stock here. We're talking about the company. And as I said in the video, we don't know how the market's going to react to any information we come out with, good or bad. But if we come up with good information, it does not necessarily mean the stock's going to go up. So I'm talking just about the company itself. If you look at how things have been laying up over the past quarter, we've been guiding contract after contract after contract, and the news we announced yesterday was over the top. And I'll explain that in a bit, because one of the questions a real question was somebody asking us before yesterday's press release was, what's happening with that way overdue receivable you have on your balance sheet? Which has been an eyesore for many, including ourselves. I mean, it's on our balance sheet. We knew internally that it was a good receivable. We had, we have insight into the receivable. We delayed payments on purpose because we thought it was the benefit of the company. But we weren't allowed to adjust the balance sheet entry because the balance sheet entry is determined by accounting principles. And those accounting principles dictate you have to reflect it on the balance sheet as per the original terms of the agreement. So if you amend the agreement, forget about it. It still has to go with respect to the original. So it was there. We were comfortable with it. In our press release yesterday, we said it was the right thing and the friendly thing to do. That's not to reflect a weak perspective. Absolutely not. We had the ability to go in. We had the hammer. We had the trigger to go in and collect if we wanted to. But we don't think that was good for us, for our client, and for the future. And this is correct. We have essentially established ourselves with this client and in the region as being a friendly partner, one who will be patient under certain circumstances, which the circumstances have to be beneficial to the company, of course. And that goes a long way to the future partnerships we expect to to sign and engage in expanding our dross right capabilities in the area, expanding our, cross-selling our other business lines. And we've spoken to this in our recent past two outlooks in our quarterly. So I'd ask you to look at those. Some questions we've gotten in have to do with things that are public and we can't speak to. There are a couple of questions that have to do with things we can speak to very quickly. One is, are we still planning on building plants to convert drossite residues to aluminum sulfite? The answer is yes. That strategy hasn't changed. But I can't go into more specifics here because we haven't made them public. Are we still planning on building a 3D powder production plant in Europe? That is our ultimate goal still. And again, I can't go into too many details here because it hasn't been public. Other than that, all the other questions we have been asked speak to non-public information. And what we will do is hopefully, I can't promise, but we'll try to maybe. And if you have any more questions as a result of this, please send them in. And what we'll try and do is have a press release where we highlight the questions and answer them specifically. So so these questions that have been asked at this meeting will be addressed with public information so everyone can have the same information at the same time. On that note, I'm very happy. I want to thank our investors again for their patience. We're very excited about where we are. We're very excited about where we're going. And I pass I turn things back now over to the chair.
Well, thank you, Peter. Thank you for addressing those questions. I will now ask Monsieur Générale, as one of the scrutineers of the meeting, to present the preliminary results of the voting. The final result will be posted on SEDAR. Bertrand?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We, the scrutineers of this meeting, hereby declare that on a preliminary basis, each of the 8 nominees for election as director has received a vote of at least 99.45% of all shares voted in favor of their election. At least 99.90% of the votes were cast in favor of the reappointment of Raymond Chabot Grant Thornton as auditors of the corporation for the ensuing year, and to authorize the directors to fix the auditor's remuneration.
Thank you, Monsieur Générale. Before we close, on behalf of the board and our board members, I'd like to really thank the PyroGenesis management team for their continued support and leadership, and thank all of our employees for their hard work and dedication. Well, thank you all in the meeting with us today, and have a wonderful rest of the day. So enjoy. Thank you very much.